This is Sue Peterson from the Michigan District of Kiwanis, and tonight's Voices of Service is a forum with our candidates for Kiwanis International Vice President. Just so that you know, I have recorded all of their podcasts, and once we get tonight's session over, I will finish up the cleaning up of those, so to say, and make those available to everyone. If you have any questions along the way, if you would just throw them in the chat, we'll see if we can get to them tonight. I do have a number of questions here tonight to ask them. We will start out with asking our candidates to introduce themselves, and we did a quick drawing before the meeting tonight. My number was 8. Hope picked that number, so she will start first. Dan will go second, and Gary will go third. And then as we ask the questions around the way, we are going to rotate them. And I am going to turn off my video as well, so that we only have the 3 candidates on the screen. So anybody else will turn off their videos. If you're not a candidate tonight, that would be great. Or I'll stop it for you. I've turned them all off. So, all right, let's start with Hope. Go ahead. Let's introduce yourself to our guest tonight.
Thank you. It's great to be on. Good evening, everyone. I was born and raised in Jamaica to loving parents who believed in putting the needs of children first. I believe that having this solid foundation, it kept me grounded and has helped me to make choices beneficial to me and to others. I own a successful management company which deals with the operations of resort homes. And currently we manage the finances, staffing, and the upkeep of 27 resort homes with 150 employees. I tend to be a solutions person, and I'm convinced that my training in early childhood education has helped me to manage adults. I was invited to join Kiwanis by a close friend of good character, and character still matters to me. I'm now in my 25th year and a member of 2 clubs, a charter member of the Kiwanis Club of Hopewell, where I have served in several capacities. And within the past year, I became a member of the Northwestern Indianapolis Club. Both memberships I enjoy immensely. I consider leadership a privilege and have loved every area in which I have served in my club, my district of Eastern Canada and the Caribbean, and on the international board. When I'm not working or volunteering, I enjoy tennis, traveling, gardening, dancing, reading, doing crossword puzzles, and spending time with my family, friends, and my pets. And last, but by no means least, if I watch any more of the series of Blue Bloods, Law and Order, Criminal Minds, NCIS, and CSI, in my next life, I am going to make a first-class detective who specializes in DNA.
All right, I don't know if I need to wait for Sue. Gary, I think we'll just roll right into it.
Go for it, Dan.
All right, thank you very much, Sue. Greetings, everybody, from the beautiful Black Hills of Western South Dakota. I hope all of you 70 or so Kiwanians around tonight are all doing well, and I hope you're having a great Kiwanis year. I want to personally thank you all for all the great work you're doing to impact the lives of children and families in your community. I really appreciate all of that. I am Dan Leikvold. I'm married to Tracy, and I want to take a moment to publicly thank Tracy for her support for me in this campaign and all that entails. We have 2 adult children, Braden and Taylor. We reside in Lead, South Dakota. I'm a retired educator. I spent 35 years as a teacher, coach, principal, and superintendent before retiring in 2021. My Kiwanis career has allowed me to serve in many different leadership roles in my home club of the Kiwanis Club of Lead, throughout the Minnesota Dakotas District, and now in my current role as a Kiwanis International Board Trustee. I feel so fortunate and blessed to have been able to be in all of those different roles, and all along the way, all that I've had the opportunity to experience and learn is just tremendous. I appreciate it all so much. So oftentimes, whenever we take on a new challenge, like a new job, or we move to a new city, or we decide to do something wild, like step outside our comfort zone and run for Kiwanis International Vice President, people will ask you, why are you doing that? So I'd like to address the question by giving you my why for running for Kiwanis International Vice President. As a retired educator, my number one why is being an advocate for children and being a champion for children. My second why is to be part of the team that helps extend the 109-year tremendous legacy of Kiwanis. We need to honor all the people that came before us and all of the time and effort that they put into our organization. My third why is all of the great lifelong friendships that I've developed throughout Kiwanis. Fellowship runs through Kiwanis like Patrick Mahomes runs through defenses. And lastly, my why is that I believe leadership matters, and that challenging times require effective leaders. It requires leaders who put public service over personal ambition and have the skill set necessary to serve our members and our clubs. It requires the passion, energy, and communication skills needed to govern fairly, counsel wisely, and assist clubs as they strive to be the best that they can be. I believe I do have the skills, temperament, and background necessary, and believe I am a great candidate to help guide Kiwanis into the future. I look forward to hearing all the questions tonight. I will do my best to answer them honestly and openly, and I look forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Gary?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm Gary Graham. I'm married to Jamie. We have 4 children and 12 grandchildren, though we did hear from our youngest son tonight, so we actually have 12 and a half grandchildren. I have been a 33-year Kiwanian. I'm a member of the Kiwanis Club of Baton Rouge. I'm also a member of the Lamiston Internet Club and the Eye of the Tiger Kiwanis Club. I began, as everybody else at this level has done, through all of the jobs and all of the positions, and have really enjoyed all I have done and all I hope to continue doing. I am a veteran of the U.S. Army, and I served as a university administrator for 39 years before retiring so I could devote full time to my Kiwanis efforts. I have found that we have so much to offer, that there are so many great Kiwanians in the world, and that we just need to repackage ourselves for the new generations. We see the opportunities and the challenges. Things are changing. They are always changing. We have a new generation, new technology, new ways of looking at things, and we need to adapt if we're going to bring Kiwanis well into its second century of service. I look forward to answering any questions, trying to lay out what I believe we need to do in Kiwanis, and keep making ours a lot stronger and a lot more viable and serviceable to the children of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, we're going to start with our questionings. As Hope was our first candidate to answer the first question, Dan will answer this question first, then Gary will answer, and then Hope will answer. And we're going to set our timer for 2.5 minutes so that we can keep ourselves on time here this evening. Otherwise, I will be the one that runs us over. And I don't want to do that. So hopefully you'll be able to hear the chime that goes off, but we will start with our first question when I finish, just like on the TV show. As a longstanding member of our organization, Dan, how do you plan to leverage your connections and relationships to further our mission and objectives?
So I think nothing is more important in the Kiwaniverse than building relationships. I think whether it's at the district level, club level, or at the international level, how well we interact with others is crucial. And it's important that we don't just communicate well with and get along with people that look like us, people that live where we live, people that think like we do. Because we have such a multifaceted organization in over 80 countries and all of the various languages that we have and cultures and geographic areas, we have a lot of diversity. And so building relationships with people who don't look like you and don't act like you is sometimes very difficult. So as far as connections go, I think we start with the Minnesota Dakotas district and the great support that they've given to me. and we go through all of the other districts that I've counseled, and I've got to know all of the people on the board and past international presidents. I think that networking matters a lot, and I think those connections matter. I think people know when you're talking to them, if you care, if you're being there and with them when you're talking, or if you're just all about yourself and not really interested in what they have to say. In addition to getting along with the volunteers throughout the whole Kiwanis world, we also need to get along well with staff, because it is staff that in the end manages the day-to-day operations. They have the expertise of the organization and the specialization that we need to carry forward. So I think it's a combination, getting along well with the volunteers, past, present, and future officers, club members, clubs. Certainly, if I move on in my Kiwanis journey, I'm going to visit as many clubs as I can. And then it's about working well with staff, understanding your role as a board member and what their role is as a staff member.
Thank you, Dan. Gary, same question?
Well, as far as making the connections, over the past 33 years I've been in Kiwanis, I have met hundreds, if not thousands, of Kiwanians that have such a desire and a heart for service that it, I believe, begins at the club level. If we're going to make use of our connections and our networking at the highest level in developing policy with the staff and with the board, we need to understand what the member at the club level really needs. I have had the experience as governor to visit almost every club in my district my year as governor. Same with counseling all these districts that I've had the opportunity to meet with over the last 3 years. There is so much expertise, so much knowledge, and so much questioning that we just need to be able to listen, see what the problems are, work with the clubs, and use our connections at the district and international to make the clubs more responsive to their members, and that the club experience is first and foremost if we're going to continue to grow Kiwanis.
Thank you, Gary. Hope, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, as a longstanding member of our organization, how do you plan to leverage your connections and relationships to further our mission and objectives?
I think one of the first things I've realized in attracting attention is people have to believe in you. So there's something in you that they see that they want to, adopt or want to be like or to emulate. I have made many connections, not only through Kiwanis, but through my business, because I deal with a lot of different cultures. When I went to high school, I dealt with a lot of cultures also. So dealing with diversity has become a way of life for me, regardless of where I am in the world, regardless of what language I speak. And I think that people pick this up. People pick this up in me and say, okay, I'm going to, she looks like a Pied Piper, she seems like a Pied Piper. I'm going to join in with what she does. As everybody mentioned, it's so important to be able to work with the staff as well, because the staff is basically who's going to make you look good. They have to represent you. When you go to the various districts, you're representing KI and you represent them at a high standard. But in the whole umbrella of it is not really what because I find that Kiwanians, sometimes they don't really care what you know. They really want to know that you care. And I find that if you can see through the eyes of a member and tell yourself, okay, this might not be right, what we're doing, then you listen to them, because that's another thing that's very important. You listen to the members. And I think over time, you'll get sustainable growth. And that's what we need. We need sustainable growth. And I think by setting the example, by keeping your word, by being fair as much as you possibly can, and by including them in the process, and I mean worldwide, I believe we could become a very successful organization where growth is concerned.
Thank you very much. Okay, Gary, you have the next question here. What initiatives or changes would you like to introduce to enhance the overall effectiveness and efficiency of our board's decision-making processes?
Well, I think first and foremost, we need to bring to the board what the memberships want in our Kiwanis world. I have, with building so many clubs over the last dozen years or so, probably 3 or 4 dozen clubs that I've been involved with, I have noticed that there is a disconnect a lot of times between what the member at the club level wants or understands and what the people at the board level understand. And I think a lot of that comes from the lack of experience, the new member or even a member of a club who has not gotten the global view of what Kiwanis is all about. But that could also be a negative for the board, because sometimes when you understand, you can be dismissive or not being as caring as you want. So I think what I would bring to the board is that sense of being able to relate to the Kiwanis member at the club level and trying to make the clubs more effective and more efficient by taking on any of the bureaucratic part and let the clubs deal with what they want to do as far as their service, what they want to do for the children, what they want to do for their fundraisers, and leave a lot of the technical stuff to the board and the staff.
Thank you, Gary. Hope, that question now to you. What initiatives?
Gary said technical, but I'm going to be a little more bold and say we need to leave the politics out of it for the members. The politics the members do not want politicians. They really want people who are true and, as true as possible. Because if you're true to yourself, then you're true to everybody else, usually. But what I try to bring to the board is, through the eyes of a member, is the diversity, the fact that they need to be involved in the process. Sometimes I think there's a little fear of actually trying something new. And then, somebody will say, well, this might happen or that might happen. But I would say take that step. Take that step if it's a step we have never taken before, and work with it and try our best to appeal to the members. I think if we interact with the members as much as possible, I don't think they'll mind if we do something wrong, or if we have to apologize, or if we have to say, listen, I'm sorry, we messed up and this is what we're going to do. But I think once we do not engage them in the process, then they feel left out. And as somebody used the word disconnect, I honestly didn't realize there was a disconnect until I was a governor. And I couldn't believe the things I was hearing people saying, because I never ever felt that. I was so busy having fun and serving and, meeting people and building relationships. I really did not notice that there was a disconnect until I was a governor. And we need to bring that back. And I think somehow it came about because there's a mindset that we need Kiwanis, but I think in reality, Kiwanis needs us.
Thank you, Hope. Dan, same question. Do you need me to repeat it for you?
Yes, please.
All right. What initiatives or changes would you like to introduce to enhance the overall effectiveness and efficiency of our board's decision-making processes?
Okay, so as far as initiatives go, I think we need to focus heavily on club opening, and we need to make sure that we have enough club openers on staff that can go out and help districts build new clubs. I think that we need any staff in the Asia Pacific to help with their membership growth and what they have going on there. I believe that it would be helpful if we had some sort of a board member performance review to make sure that board members are doing their job and that they're also growing as board members. The way it works right now, when we go out to districts and we counsel the districts, we fill out a report on them, how well they're doing, what they're up to. I think they should fill out a report on us, and we can read that and actually get better. and listen to what they have to say. Other initiatives that I think we need to really talk about as a board are focusing on a continuum of care for our young people, focusing on early intervention, focusing on mentorships, focusing on mental wellness, and those sorts of things. I just think it's really important that we make sure that as we have our conversations about budget, which we will, we can't just have every shiny object out there added to our budget. We need to focus heavily on membership, and I think we need to focus heavily on a continuum of care with children. And I think we need to have some kind of accountability system for international board members.
Thank you, Dan. Hope, we're back to you. What's your go-to karaoke song, and how does it reflect your approach to motivation and energizing others?
What is my
Go-to karaoke song, and how does it reflect your approach to motivation and energizing others?
My karaoke song was sang at the 100th anniversary of Kiwanis. But you know what? I can't remember everything I sang, but it had something to do with believing in what I do. And you'd be making a big mistake if you didn't join. And it has a lot to do with value. Let's say it's not a song, but my moment when I was very influenced, I would say, by the whole being a member, was when I a club wanted a playground. We're not in an affluent community, so we had to, be asking for funds all the time. And we wrote to KI for it was Kiwanis International Foundation about 3 times. The first time they said no. The second time they said no. The third time I refused to open the envelope because I was so sure it was going to be no. And after a club meeting, which ended, we broke up at about 8:30. I went home and I opened the envelope, and I just couldn't believe it. We got the grant to have the playground. And I sing that song all the time. And that made me realize how persistent I was, how much I was very interested in being a Kiwanian and the value of being a Kiwanian. And I called everybody I could. I woke up whoever I had to wake up and say, listen, we got the grant. And within 24 hours, the money was sent to the vendor. And the vendor was so nice. We had never met each other. It was all through email. And she said, Hope, it's going to cost you $800 to transport the thing to Florida for it to be shipped. Well, she paid that $800 and the shipper shipped it for nothing. So that's my Kiwani story right now. I have many of them, but that was my first real experience with knowing how much it has just brought a lot of value to my life.
Thank you, Hope. Dan, same question. What's your go-to karaoke song, and how does it reflect your approach to motivation and energizing others?
Well, I have to say Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks. First and foremost, it tells you who I'm hanging out with. I'm not just hanging out with the elite Kiwanis International Board members, although they're a bunch of great people, obviously. But I think I come from, my roots are hanging out with people who don't necessarily come from a lot, don't have a lot, but are eager to provide for others as best they can and for their children. And in that vein, Friends in Low Places. In addition, that song is fun. It matters that we have fun at some point. Can you imagine showing up to your ex-girlfriend's wedding and toasting her? That's a hoot. You might get tossed out, but that sounds like a lot of fun. And then the last part of that, I think, that song represents perseverance and resiliency. Life goes on, stuff happens. Keep moving. Don't be a complainer. Be a problem solver. Move ahead. Depending on what life gives you, and it gives us all different angles. We know that, but we just need to keep moving and persevere.
Great, Dan. Gary, what's your go-to karaoke song, and how does it reflect your approach to motivation and energizing others?
I have so many because I do karaoke with our district. We have a tradition at our decons in Lamiston to have our trustee and the counselor get up and sing with us. So I've done a bunch of them from She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy with Lance and City. But the one I think I used the most and what I sang at Alabama, because they had me sing karaoke too, and I won first prize. But I was the only one singing, so I guess that narrows it down, is Margaritaville. It's like Friends in Low Place. It's a great sing-along song. And I guess it reflects the don't let things get to you. You're going to have things that are going to be bad days. You're going to cut your foot on a pop top, bust your flip flop, but you're going to always have a margarita to come back and chill and look at life a little bit differently.
Thanks, Gary. Might be a good thing that we didn't ask anybody to sing tonight, right? No, I don't know. All right.
Next comes later, I think.
Yes, that comes later. It's at the end, right? Okay, next question. Dan, this one's for you. What will you do to help elevate, empower, and engage our SLPs and the young leaders that we are serving through these great programs?
I will do everything possible in my control to support our SLPs. I believe that they are the most important thing that we do in Kiwanis. They are our signature projects. They are our service. I did have the good fortune of being the counselor to Key Club in my second year as a Kiwanis International trustee. Not surprisingly to me, after having spent 35 years with 16 and 17 and 18-year-olds and 14-year-olds, they're wonderful. They're awesome. So anything I can do to help them in terms of counseling them, assisting them, finding them resources, sitting down and planning with them, I will do it. I think that Circle K International is a great organization, and I think they're coming around and they're going to be fine. They're so important. I think Bert's commitment to K Kids and Katrina's commitment to Builders Club is so very important. So as we move forward, and we all certainly hope on the board that the dues adjustment passes in Denver. And whether it does or it doesn't, we need to sit down again and again, and we have, and continue to look at what our real priorities are when we put our budget together. How are we going to spend our money? And for me, other than the necessities of insurance and legal and all of that stuff, with anything we have a choice about, I'm going to advocate for resources to put into our SLPs, because I really think it's that important.
Thank you, Dan. Gary, same question.
All right. Well, I think that is the one thing that Kiwanis is most well known for. I mean, we have the signature projects that the different clubs submit or throughout the world, but the Kiwanis signature project is our SLPs, especially Key Club. I have been a Key Club advisor for well over 20 years and still am. I've been the CKI faculty advisor for 15 years, and now for 10 years since I retired, I've been the Kiwanis advisor. We have a K Kids that we work with. We are trying to get Builders Club started. In fact, I'm working with my daughter, who's a middle school teacher in Virginia, and we're going to have a Builders Club built at her school so that we can continue the growth, because we have to start at the K Kids and the Builders Club, as Bert and Katrina have done, to actually keep the fire alive in the youth, because that's going to be what we need to address as they get older. We want them to be closer to Kiwanis and not be the case where we see too often where they don't know who Kiwanis is or what we do. So Action Club is another one, Key Leader. All of these are our signature projects for Kiwanis, and we need to do anything and everything we can to make sure that they stay viable, because they are the future of Kiwanis.
Thank you, Gary. Hope?
I would say not as they get older, but as we get older. I think we need to be looking at them as taking over from us. I think when Kiwanis International came up with this umbrella and they patented it and named it the Kiwanis family, I don't think it was just by chance. I think it was an aim to make them the heirs to our throne. I believe we have lost our way some of the way in terms of remembering that. And maybe they're not as nurtured as they should be. Maybe they don't feel, you know, that they're being embraced as much as they should be, but they really should be our focus, you know, because they are, I mean, and every meeting I go to, I tell you the truth, I just get choked up. I get choked up watching these 6, 7-year-olds, you know, saying this meeting is called to order, you know, and then you go to the Builders Club and the Key Club, but it's very important to be involved, regardless of your age. I think it's important to be involved with them. I think it's important for them to feel wanted and appreciated. And I think I can't say the transition will be 100% smooth into our clubs, but I think they need to be encouraged, and I will be happy to do that. I mean, there are a lot of other people too who would be working with me to ensure this. And I see a real step up with these young people coming in. And if they don't want to join our clubs, don't force them. Help them to form their own. You know, your young professionals are coming up now and they're doing a fantastic job. They may do it a little differently than us, but so what? You know, we can learn from them. So I think they need to be encouraged. I think our budget really needs to look into that and speak to that and, you know, give them some encouragement. The other thing I'd love to see is that the word Kiwanis is named alongside with the various Key Club, the Builders Club, the K Kids, because I've gone out with parents who, you know, I talk about Kiwanis, they listen to me and everything. And then when I say Key Club, they say, is Key Club Kiwanis? And I said, it sure is. So there's something there for an organization that's over 100 years old that we probably need to look into that. And even if it means legal fees to get it done, I would say, let's get it done. Let them be associated with Kiwanis in a formal way. And I think it will also help us with growth.
Thank you, Hope. Who do I left, Gary or Dan? Or did all three of you answer it?
Yep, we're all answered that question. I
All
think
right.
it's Gary's turn for the next one.
Perfect. It's Gary's turn for the next one. Okay. As the Kiwanis family and the parent organization for all of Kiwanis, what is your vision of how you will lead the collaboration of the organization working with the Kiwanis Children's Fund and the Kiwanis Youth Programs?
Well, we're all part of the K family, and so we need to be able to use the resources we have at the KYP. I served on that my first year as a trustee, and I have not been able to work with the Children's Fund as a trustee yet, but we need to be able to step up, have a vision for Kiwanis in the future, and how the KYP program and how the Children's Fund can be a part of that future, and how they can help work on a vision for how we're going to move forward to make the whole Kiwanis family a better and more efficient operation.
Thank you, Hope.
I might be incorrect, but I think we need to listen more to the appeal of the Kiwanis Children's Fund and get more involved with them. Not to try to tell them what to do, because we are not the foundation, and hopefully everybody who's on that board understands more of a foundation than we do. But I think we could involve them a little more in what we're doing, and vice versa. Definitely involve the youth programs, and maybe they could work in unison with each other. And it could be the focus of the Children's Fund to specialize mainly in our Kiwanis youth programs. But they will need the support, and I see absolutely nothing wrong in giving them that support. And I'm very much in favor of trying new things. So if somebody at the fund level, foundation level wants to say, why don't we try this, something we have never done before, I would say let's go for it and work with it and support it. But I believe that we should be working more closely with the fund and in with the youth program.
Thank you, Hope. Dan, same question.
Yeah, I believe that the Kiwanis Children's Fund and the Kiwanis Youth Programs Board are both really important entities in the K family, along with us. I know governance-wise, I think probably the KI board is in a different spot than some of those. But I think realistically, as we move forward, we need to have conversations with those folks, deep dives, strategic plans to talk about what their vision is going forward and how we can help them achieve that. We're all about the same thing. We're all about serving children, taking care of children. And, you know, a couple times in the past 30 years between iodine deficiency disorder and the Eliminate Project, that partnership has worked really, really well. And I think that's great. And then the KYP board, I think based on what all three of us just said about SLPs, and I think every member of our board feels the same way, how important those entities are. So I just think we need to work close with them and have conversations about what they need from us to support them and what their views are on things going forward. And I know we don't live in Lake Wobegon and we're not going to all agree all the time, but I think dialogue matters and matters a lot. And so I think we need to sit down and have conversations.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dan. Next question starts with Hope. As you know, this position, should you be successful as the candidate for vice president, will lead to be the president of Kiwanis International. What specific goals or would you have in mind for your the role as the vice president that would plan to contribute to the overall success of the organization as you move into the role of president?
Okay, well, if the president-elect doesn't mind, I hope I'll be able to shadow him or her. I know I'll have districts to council, which will still fall under my portfolio. I would like to try, starting with knowing I'm going to be the president, you know, if life spares. I would like to start bringing in the things, the ideas that I have, in the hope that by the time I'm the president, it won't be a done deal, but at least it will be halfway there. And one of it, you know, this sounds very simple, but since I'm on the board, I realize that how important it is consistency. I think we need to be speaking the same language to the members. I would love to see that. I would try to, you know, get us to be a bit more transparent and to try to involve the members in the processes as much as possible, because, you know, we're going to have to rely on them, and we're going to have to rely on growth, and we don't want people just walking away. But overall, as a vice president, I'd like to make a huge positive impact with the membership, to help to grow the club, to help to retain members, and to help opening clubs. I think the three of them really needs to be on the same platform, because I think the three of them are just as important as the other one. So I believe that would be one of my strengths in vice president, and I hope I'll be able to achieve that, because, you know, I'm not the one, you know, I can't make any executive decisions. So it will need cooperation and support on that. But I think we're all there together with that. So, but I would be a very involved vice president, because I'm just a person who believes in being involved, and I'm not going to say yes to something and just look at it as a position. It's going to be work for me, and I want to make a positive impact.
Thank you, Hope. Dan, same question.
Could you repeat it, please?
Yes. As you know, should you be elected for the position of vice president this year, this would be leading you into serve as the president of Kiwanis International in 2 years. What goals do you have in mind for this role that you would plan to contribute to be the overall success of the organization, to be able to place into position basically when you're the president?
Yeah, well, I think I kind of already answered this question, so I'm not sure I answered the other question correctly or not, but I'll let the people out there make that decision. I think club opening and membership, obviously, we need to continue to focus on that, and that needs to be a high priority in our organization. So as Kiwanis International Vice President, I would work with the other 3 officers, with staff, with other board members, with governors, whoever it takes to focus on membership. That has to be our number 1 priority. Secondly, again, I believe that as Kiwanis International board members, we need to be transparent and held accountable. And I think there needs to be some method to make sure that that happens, to make sure that we're giving our districts and our members what they're asking for and what they want. And then the last thing is, and again, this is probably nothing new, but I just think we need to continue to focus on serving children. And for me, it's about a continuum of care. It's about starting with our earliest kids, priority 1, and some of our other programs that maybe aren't as strong as they could be. I think we need to focus on early intervention and getting kids what they need early on in terms of literacy, in terms of health, in terms of well-being, just in general. Then I think we need to look at some kind of a mentoring program for our youth. And I think that's important. There's a lot of models out there, or we could develop our own, but I'm really big on having mentorship programs in place. So that's something that I would bring up right away as well. And then the whole idea of mental wellness for our children and our teens and adolescents. I've had a lot of conversations about this over the years. I've done a couple presentations at the International Convention with Erica's Lighthouse, and it is such a huge need that we have that I think we need to continue to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Gary?
Well, I would think, as I have observed those that have gone before me and become vice president, president-elect, and president, a lot of the work is done at those first 2 levels. When you're vice president, when you're president-elect, you're putting your team together. So you really are setting the mood or what you want to accomplish. Again, we want to make the membership or the member experience worthwhile. People join Kiwanis primarily to serve. They want to give service back to the children. As I mentioned earlier, we just built a club in Manny, Louisiana. I came back from yesterday evening, and the police chief there was one of the first to join. And everybody I talked to when I was recruiting said, there's nothing for the children to do. They get into trouble because we have nothing here for them. And we would want Kiwanis to come in to do the K-Kids, the Builders Club, the Key Club, to do the playgrounds or whatever else that we can do. But we need to make it as easy as possible for these club members to do what they want to do. And that we take out a lot of the problems that we've had, like I said, have been on a lot of club building outings. The one thing we do is come in a little too fast, get them all together, get them organized. And a lot of times they don't know each other. They're in the same community. I think we need to take more time to let them get to know each other so that they can start brainstorming among themselves before we actually get into the organization, because I have seen it happen where the wrong person was elected as president and almost destroyed the club. So we need to be able to step up, do a lot of the bureaucratic part, getting the checklist where we can have professionals doing the EIN numbers, the incorporation, and all of the other helping getting the bank account set up. All of this is something that new members coming in who have not had any experience with any of the paperwork and things that required to be a good organization and to be responsible and accountable. We need to be able to help them do that so that they can do what they want to do. Just as I said at this club we built this week, everyone was complaining that they needed to help the children, and they wasn't looking at, I would need to go get an EIN number, I need to get a bank account, or I need to get incorporated. I want to do something to help the kids, and I think that's what we need to do as a vice president and as president-elect, is setting that framework into place so that we can accomplish that to improve the member experience at the club level.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, we're gonna have another speed round. I'll just let you guys shout it out as after I say them. And then we have a couple more questions after that. So the first one is sunflowers or roses?
Roses,
Sunflowers,
Roses,
Chocolate chip brownies, or excuse me, chocolate chip cookies or brownies?
chocolate chip
Brownies.
cookies,
chocolate
brownies,
chip cookies,
Morning person or night owl?
morning.
morning,
both,
Fiction or not? Fiction or nonfiction?
what was that again?
Nonfiction.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
uh, fiction, nonfiction, both. I mean, I both.
Football or basketball?
Oh,
Football,
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 Sweet or savory?
savory,
savory,
sweet,
savory,
Coca-Cola or Pepsi?
Coca-Cola,
Coca-Cola,
Coke,
M&Ms or Skittles?
M&Ms.
M's.
M&Ms.
All right. All right. So this is the question I'm sure that you've all been waiting for. Talking about our dues increase. Could you please provide some insight in your rationale or the rationale behind the proposed dues increase, understanding the factors driving the decision and how it will benefit our members and our organization? So basically, how does the dues increase benefit our members and our organization? And I believe Dan would have that first.
I think it is my turn, yeah. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say on the record, I support the dues increase proposed by the Kiwanis International Board of $25. I've looked at the budget a lot the last 3 years, and it is clear to me that our revenue is down and our expenditures, price of stuff is up, not the expenditures that we actually that is down. So when you have a situation where your costs are going up and your revenue is going down, you have to do something. And we all certainly wish that we could add 50,000 new members and take care of it that way. But that has not proven to be the case over the last 30 years or whatever that might be. So since the last dues adjustment was in 2015, we know everything costs more. Inflation is up and our revenue is down. The board has, and prior boards for the last several years, has done a good job of maintaining costs and keeping costs low. In response to last year's failed $30 dues increase in Minneapolis, the current board, of which all three of us sit on, were part of approving a $2.1 million cut in the budget. So we are managing costs, but our membership is going down. So we need to have additional revenue to get by and to survive and take care of that crucial stuff that we have, such as public relations and insurance and education and training and a variety of other things as well. Now, I would say about the $25, if it passes, I don't think we just blindly go back in and add in all the stuff that we cut. We need to sit down and have a strategic session about what our priorities are and what we're going to leave in the budget and what we're going to take out. And I think that could be a hard conversation to have, but it is definitely a conversation that needs to be had. And we can't just add back things that may or may not be necessary just because that they were in there before. And lastly, I would say going forward, we have to have a balanced budget. We can't have a structural deficit anymore. We can't use our investment reserves to balance the budget. We can use that money for initiatives and projects and one-time money, but we cannot use it for ongoing operational costs. So I hope, here's the part where we sing, right? Sue, please
Yes.
come to Denver. Oh, sorry about that, Gary. Please come to Boston, please come to Denver and vote because it's your organization, and come and vote in Denver and be a delegate and do a lot of investigating and look at the budget before you come.
Thank you, Dan. Gary.
We do need to have a dues increase. Having looked at the budget, as all of us have done over the last few years, we can see that hindsight being 2020, if we had known what was going to happen with COVID, we probably wouldn't be in the situation we are right now. But we were reluctant to ask for a dues increase when we were sitting on such a large investment portfolio. And so the decision at that time was, okay, we're not going to ask for the increase. We're going to just use it and go as long to make it easier for the membership and not have to go ask for a dues increase. Obviously, the issues of COVID with the supply chains and the inflation that has racked the whole economy, and the fact that the stock market dropped and we no longer have that cushion with the extra money that we were using to offset a required dues increase, it is time to come back and ask for one. And we would need to be transparent. We need to let the membership know where we have cut, and we have cut it to the bone. If we are going to, and even programs that are really necessary, if we're going to be operational, such as governor-elect training, we have to have this type, if we're going to have the leadership going forward, trained and brought up to speed, and to do that takes money. And it's unfortunate that all of this happened at the same time and made a bad situation worse. But we are going to have to be good stewards of what we have. I'm having done administrative budgets and fee increases in my profession for nearly 40 years. It's never easy, but as long as you can justify what you're doing and the membership actually wants that, we don't want to offer something that is shiny and new without having some kind of input from the membership thinking that it's going to be valuable to them.
Thank you, Gary. Hope?
Let me start off by saying, and I'm going to, read some of the time, what the dues are for. We use dues to support the clubs, divisions, and districts, and leadership education, training events, printed and digital resources, translation and interpretation in 7 core languages, technology and digital products, global marketing, public relations, and legal services. So if we don't have a dues increase, we're going to be losing, let's say, most of that. The costs overall have increased in leaps and bounds since the last dues increase. We have had a loss of membership, which has reduced income, which we really need to work on. We need to really start engaging our members so we can keep them. Cutting expenses is not enough anymore. And I'm pleased to say we have listened to our members. Since Minneapolis, they asked for certain things and we are giving it to them. We have reduced staff by 13%, travel by 25%, meeting expenses by 25%, and contract services by 28%. And we plan to propose to reduce the number of trustees on the international board. Honestly, I really don't think we have enough fat to trim, so to speak. And, if it doesn't pass, I've read what it is used for, we'll be losing all of that. But, especially with the leadership and training programs, this will grossly affect our clubs. Clubs will have to pay for materials and education. And when I think about what it will do for the service leadership programs, and these youngsters, it hurts a little bit because that touches my heart, The convention events would be diminished, it would be the same. I think we'd be letting go of quality, actually, if we don't have a dues increase. And even with an increase, if we do our homework, we realize that we're still the least expensive service organization, to be a part of. So I agree with the dues increase. Of course, I still agree we keep the tiers, but I would say we need that increase. And I think anybody who thinks we have enough to live off, our reserves, we might have enough to live off reserves, but see what happened. We had a pandemic and it took us down quite a bit because of that. So And I run a business. I wouldn't want to be living on the reserves, because after a while, the reserves go, and then you wish you hadn't. So I am for the dues increase.
Thank you, Hope. What Kiwanis object speaks to your heart? What Kiwanis object speaks to your heart? And we'll start with Gary.
I think the one that we promote, the living of the golden rule. I think it goes to the heart of everything in our society, in the world, that if we would be as kind to others as we expect them to be kind to us, that we would not get into this digging our heels in and taking a side that I am not going to compromise on. I am not going to discuss it my way or the highway. That type of attitude that we see permeating society right now, we need to promote that golden rule and see that they can understand and be a little bit more civilized in dealing with each other, so that we can get things accomplished and not just say it's my way or the highway.
Thank you, Gary. Hope. What
I
Kiwanis object
will
speaks
have
to
to
your heart?
say the golden rule. I grew up with that as a child, and it has, as far as I'm concerned, I think we did very well by it growing up, and there is no change. I believe in treating people the way I would like to be treated, and I know that's part of the reason why I have a successful business. So I would say definitely the goal to live by the golden rule.
Dan?
And that will have a positive domino effect on everything else, I think.
Thank you, Hope. Sorry about that interruption. Dan?
Okay.
I think it's a tie. I think it's a tie between 2 and 5. I agree with these two. The golden rule, obviously, that comes from a little bit higher up than Kiwanis. So we think that's pretty important. And then the whole fellowship and building relationships is really, really important. It's interesting that we're going to celebrate 100 years and they haven't been changed. They have stood the test of time. So that is good.
Thank you, Dan. And that's the questions I have for tonight. I'm now going to give each one of you time to give closing remarks and talk to our members about why you should be our next International Vice President. And with that, we will start with Gary.
Well, thank you for listening to us tonight. I'm sure you've got a lot of information and our goals. Hopefully, if not, we are available. I am available at least. I think my experience in my career as an administrator, working with budgets, working with people, working in a tough situation with parking at universities, if any of you have ever done that, you'll understand that it's a contentious and it is one that gets people burned out on, but I stuck it out through 39 years. I think my experience in the working world and my experience with the Kiwanis over the last 33 years together will make me a more effective vice president and future president of this organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Hope.
Our serving the children of the world is a very profound statement. And I put it to everybody that it means we're nation builders, because the children are our future. And the opportunity to serve as a volunteer, to have enduring friendships, to fund the fellowship, to develop young leaders, to enhance our own leadership skills based on this logo, this motto, to serve the children of the world, and to share all of this with people, from all over the world, has brought a lot of value to my life. And I'm sure that's why a lot of us remain Kiwanians. Despite being a board member, I still see the challenges through the eyes of a member. And I believe I have identified the reasons for some of these challenges. And coupled with the knowledge that I've gained over the years throughout my personal, business, and Kiwanis experiences, along with my natural ability to lead by example with integrity and with a little bit of adventure and creativity, I believe that my style of leadership will have a positive and fun impact on our membership overall, which I believe will result in sustainable growth. Thank you for listening. It was a pleasure being in this meeting, and I look forward to continue working with you in Kiwanis.
Thank you, Hope. Dan?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say thanks to Gary and Hope for their service and all that they do. It's tremendous what they're doing, and as board members, they're awesome. I also want to thank all the folks that are out there tonight. We appreciate you coming and taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to what we have to say. So as I said earlier, my home club is the Kiwanis Club of Lead in Western South Dakota in the Minnesota Dakotas District. And in 2025, the Kiwanis Club of Lead is going to celebrate its 100th birthday. Can you imagine how much time, toil, and treasure the people of Lead, the Kiwanians of Lead, have given to make Lead and Deadwood better communities and to help the children and the families in the Lead Deadwood area? And I know that this commitment is repeated all around the world a lot. I know that many people out there have had their 100-year anniversaries, and the amount of service is just incredible. And it's certainly my hope that our club and all the other clubs will flourish well into the future going forward. But for this to happen, I think we all have to work together to support our members and support our clubs. Now, we're all, after this forum, if you weren't before, you are now, we're all keenly aware of all the challenges that Kiwanis faces in 2024 and beyond that. Membership growth, financial stability, the ever-growing challenge of effective governance when it seems so difficult to reach sufficient consensus, especially in an organization that spans the globe. So to address these challenges, I believe it'll take a collaborative effort and determination and the wisdom of all of us to get that done and to get to where we think that we want to be. I believe I'm the best candidate to be part of the team that helps guide Kiwanis into the future. I'm both willing and able to dedicate all that's needed to get that job done. So I humbly ask you for your support and hope that you will please come to Denver and vote for Dan Leikvold for Kiwanis International Vice President. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I'm going to pop myself back on here. I want to thank Gary and Dan and Hope for placing their name into nomination to serve as our next Kiwanis International Vice President. It is a huge venture to take on, but everyone that reaches this point is qualified to do that role as a vice president, which leads on to the Kiwanis International President of our organization. I want to thank all of you for being with us tonight. I hope that you learned as much as I did, or learned a few new things around the way. Once this recording is cleaned up, so to say, I will make sure that it's available to everyone on the Facebook site. I will also send it to all of you who are on our list, who attend with us on a weekly basis. I will make sure that you get the link and you're welcome to share it with anyone that you wish to do at that point. I'm going to relook at our schedule for next week. Originally, we thought we might need 2 weeks to talk to the vice president candidates. So there may be a different program next week, but I'll make sure that I get that out on Facebook and communicate that with everyone along the way. And we will look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks when we invite our 5 Kiwanis International trustee candidates. I expect that will be a 2-week program. And I will let you know that it will be the same format, and we will ask everyone to do the same thing with their cameras. However, many of the questions will be different. So for those who are with us tonight that are candidates for trustee, know that you're not going to get all the same questions. Sue has 2 weeks to put it together. So with that, I want to thank everyone. I hope we do get to see you in Denver in July. I think it's a great program going on. And thank everyone for being with us tonight. And as you can see in the chat, there are many, many comments that are coming in thanking you for being with us tonight. But again, I want to thank you for the service that you have provided Kiwanis International as a member of the board and as a member of Kiwanis for the many, many years. And know that we will be in good hands in July, once we have our candidates selected. So thank you very much for being with us. I am going to stop recording, and then we'll open it up if anybody else wants to talk. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.